Hey, I'm Geeky Pastimes, and in this video I want to take you through some of the interesting things we found in the Black Ops Cold War alpha maps. The alpha's been live about 3 hours now from when I recorded this, and we haven't found anything that, it's not an Easter egg. I'm not entirely sure whether they're things that are going to be important, are going to be useful, or whether they're just cool background details and stuff like that. But I'll show you the things that we've found so far. If you want to keep up with anything that we are finding, anything to do with Easter eggs, or if anything happens on Pawn Takes Pawn, check out my Twitter. I'm Geeky Pastimes over there. So enjoy the video, and if you do like it, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. So, I've been playing the alpha for a few hours now, and we've found sort of some of the things that the community found, some things that I've had a look at, and none of them amount to enough for me to say, like, this is definitely an Easter egg or anything like that. But what I wanted to do in this video was just kind of show you all of the different pieces, so people have something they can refer to, something people can see, and then hopefully they'll find it interesting. There is one sort of bigger thing that I think might turn into something later on, but that's just a guess, and I'll put that towards the end of the video. So the first thing I wanted to look at was this bloody hand. Now I think this is just a piece of environmental storytelling really, but I'm always impressed with how the community can sort of find links and things in the story, so I wanted to put it in just in case you think it's something important. So this is on the Armada map, and you can see, like, in one of the locker rooms, there's this kind of bloody hand next to a knife where it looks like someone's been playing that game, where people stab the knife between their fingers and just gone horribly wrong, and ended up sort of smearing a bloody handprint down. So that's kind of cool. Like I said, there's nothing you can interact with, nothing you can do with it, but I thought maybe that's something where people will be able to, say, oh, this is such and such a character, or, the bloody hand always makes me think of zombies maps and things like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. The next thing is something that people on my Discord found and were telling me about, and that is just above sea in Armada. So in the actual bit of the ship that's above sea, you can find this chessboard. Now, chessboards are always super interesting in this because the whole sort of Black Ops Cold War reveal revolved around the Pawn Takes Pawn website. Pawn Takes Pawn was a chess move. We found it, well, Noah J found it by finding the sort of Bish You Were Here game and the move that it was talking about. Loads of the other pages on Pawn Takes Pawn are linked to chess moves, or chess games rather. So having a chessboard in the alpha is obviously kind of interesting. As far as I know, it's the only one out of any of the maps in the alpha, and you can see that there's like a game in motion on it, and apparently it's not in Checkmate, but if anyone can identify which game this is this a famous game, is this some setup, especially if it's a Bobby Fischer game, that would be super interesting, because I think that could potentially lead us to a new link on Pawn Takes Pawn or something like that. So the next thing I wanted to show you is over on the Crossroads map, and if you go onto Crossroads and go to the A objective, in that kind of bunker, there's two of these phones. Now the phones look quite similar to the one that's on the title screen. On the title screen there's a phone that has all the numbers round, it's a rotary phone, and it has Russian letters assigned to each number. Now these phones have English letters assigned to each number, and they miss out I. I'm not entirely sure why, whether it's because it looks like a 1 or something like that. I think these are probably real phones, like I think there are phones designed like this, but one of the things that's kind of interesting about it is that it's very clearly in English, whereas everything else on this map is in Russian. And that makes me think that it's possible that this is something where we're meant to use. Maybe we're meant to match up numbers to letters or something like that, and that's showing us how to do it. Now, I don't think the phone's going to be that important itself, like to interact with or anything. You can't interact with it at the moment, and they're actually a little bit sort of set back, so you can't get very close to them or anything like that. But I thought it was kind of cool. So basically you can match up numbers and letters together, so if we ever find a kind of number code, we might be able to match up to letters or vice versa. Over on the Miami map, there's the thing that I think is probably the most fun thing that I found so far, and that is the diving board. Now, I've heard other people have found this as well, so I'm definitely not like the first one to see it, but it's really cool. If you go to the diving board that's sort of at the back of one of the hotels, and you sort of run up to the end of it and then press jump when you're near the end of it, it gives you a really, really high jump, as if you're sort of springing off the diving board. I thought that was a fun, kind of silly little thing. I'm hoping there's going to be a lot more of that. I think like Black Ops as a series knows how to do lots of fun little things, so that was a cool little thing. That is pretty much, that is an Easter egg. It's a very small one, but it's a cool little Easter egg that if you jump off the diving board, you will be thrown up into the air. Now, these other things that I'm just showing you now are in the sort of bridge of one of the ships in Armada, and in the bridge there's kind of all of these numbers around. It goes from 1 to 5, and some of the displays have things that are kind of interesting. There's also a load of post-it notes around on Armada, where if you zoom into them with a sniper rifle or one of the screens, you can see kind of interesting things on there. Again, I think this is probably just set dressing. I think this is just background stuff. But it's kind of interesting that you can read a lot of this stuff, because there are plenty of images and screens that show stuff that's way too blurry to read. So when something's really sharp, it kind of makes me think, are we meant to be able to read it? So here's just a collection of some of the pieces that you can read on that map. And the numbers from 1 to 5, you know, they're vaguely interesting. I've tried shooting them in order from 1 to 5. But, you know, maybe it could be something where we get a code and then we have to go to the sort of machines near those numbers or something like that. Maybe. Or maybe just boats have those numbers near them. I'm not entirely sure. Now, the last thing I wanted to talk about is probably the thing that I think is most likely to be something significant, and that is the forest bunker. So back over on the Crossroads map, near one of the spawns, you can find this area that is called Forest Bunker, and there's sort of very distinct entrances to it. They're all sealed up. You can't interact with it or anything like that. There's some signs that are very sharp that have Russian on them, so you can see it very, very, very clearly. And there's kind of a shuttered bit that looks like you should be able to look out of it. Near that, there's also a really, really big door that's also sealed up. Now, again, this might just be something, you know, so people can tell what you're looking at. But I think the fact that we've spent so long opening bunkers in Warzone has made me think maybe there's a way to open this bunker up. It definitely looks like it has enough space, so within the game there could be rooms hidden inside there. The doors look like they might be able to move. I'm not 100% sure, but they kind of look like that's reasonable. I could believe that happening. So this is a kind of interesting thing to keep an eye on. I haven't found anything near it yet that I can interact with, but I'm going to keep on having a look whenever I get the Crossroads map, because I think it's kind of probably the most interesting thing I found so far. So, I hope you enjoyed that video. Like I said, this is just kind of my first pass on all of these maps, first time having a look around and trying to spot things. There's plenty more different things going on. So like on the Moscow map, there's a couple of phones that are ringing, sometimes you can hear. The clocks on each map all have a specific time that they're all set to. They're not real time, and they're also not the time that we see in like the Warzone clocks as that kind of aesthetically pleasing time, sort of 10 to 2, I think it is. These are all set at different ones. I think some of them are at 6:15, some of them are at 5 minutes past 8. And that's kind of interesting as to, you know, will that end up mattering? Will that be something important? And it's entirely possible with all this stuff that I'm just looking way too deeply into it, hoping there's an Easter egg, and there might not be any. One other thing I did want to talk about is that a Twitter user called The Sacred Shrimp showed me this, which is an email that he'd got from PlayStation. And on it, it talks about the alpha opening, but it also has something which has sort of some text with letters circled in blue. And on there, it spells out, the letters that are circled spells out Pawn Takes Pawn, in a similar way to the kind of clues when we were doing the stuff on Pawn Takes Pawn with Zork before were circled out. So the fact that they've sent out something to do with the alpha that's also talking about Pawn Takes Pawn makes me think there is going to be something with this alpha. There's going to be some sort of new step on Pawn Takes Pawn, something that we're going to be able to do. So far, Pawn Takes Pawn hasn't updated at the time of this video. If it does, I'll be streaming and making videos and all of that kind of thing. But it's definitely made me want to sort of keep my eye out more, and that's partly why I was paying attention to all these things while I was playing it. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do like and subscribe. If you want to see more stuff from me as I find it, go check out my Twitter. I'm Geeky Pastimes over there. Thank you very much, and see you soon.